welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Mike Russo, and there's so much to do getting ready just for you and you and you. Welcome, everybody. We're back for part 2 of our Disney Afternoon discussion. With me again are Bill Yadesky and Tiffany Braun. Welcome back, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
So we are going to pick up right where we left off in the last episode. We ended with New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Rescue Rangers, and we stopped right there for a reason, because I know Bill has a lot to say about the next show. Quite a bit, I'm sure. But before we get there, 1990 was a really big year. Tiffany, what programming block premiered that year?
That was the start of the Disney Afternoon.
Woo! The Disney Afternoon.
Disney
After.
Yeah.
So, Bill, you said you do have some specific memories about the Disney Afternoon you like to share.
Yes, I do. I feel like I remember the week that it happened, that it aired. Well, actually, I remember before that seeing commercials on my local television station that was actually putting it on. It was a Fox affiliate in Pittsburgh, Fox 53, and they were basically showing commercials of all the shows that I had grown up with to that point, like Disney-wise, the Gummy Bears, Ducktales, and Chip and Dale, and they were putting them all together in this block. And then they had this one other show that I wasn't familiar with, and apparently they were adding it onto it. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I saw Baloo the bear, and I was like, okay, cool. But he was wearing a pilot jacket, and there were planes flying, and there were foxes and warthogs, and there was Louie. But I was just like, wow, okay, this is kind of cool. But the one crazy cool thing that I was really jazzed up about was I saw this young boy bear, didn't know his name, didn't understand why he was there, but he was riding this to me magical board that was floating on clouds. And I was like, wow, that's so cool, you know? But eventually when the block aired, I was so excited. I got to see a couple new episodes of Gummy Bears and DuckTales, I think, at that time, and then began the pilot for Talespin. And I just remember that opening scene. Well, even before, I mean, the opening scene of that was just gorgeous, the music and everything. But going back, and I should have mentioned this before the shows, the animation, the little musical interlude before the shows began, was just so fun. It was just so neat seeing all these characters brought to life on paper and reacting, interacting with one another, and then even a little nod to a future show to come out, which wasn't even referenced at the time. But
who was that guy in the cape and mask?
I don't know. He was some weird purple duck. Who knows?
Maybe it was Fenton. He was in disguise.
I thought that initially. I was thinking that initially, but I was jazzed. I fell in love with the whole concept right away. And every day I had to just drop my backpack from school and sit down and spend 2 hours with all these fun characters, even though I had known them for years.
You know, before we get into the shows, they put an almost ungodly amount of effort into this block that they didn't need to. Not only was there that opening, when a show would end, they would give you a preview for the next one.
Yeah.
And there were like these commercial bumpers too, like with frogs, and then Marsupilami got started about a year later. He was in the blocks, the commercial bumpers, and so was Goofy. And then when the whole block would end, all the credits would be at the end, and they would show you a preview of tomorrow's episodes of all 4 shows. They didn't have to go the extra mile to do all of that, but it's really crazy that they did.
Yeah, it almost made it seem like a serial type of event.
Tiffany, any particular memories from you about all of that?
No, not anything more than what you said, but I will say that I think there's an if you want to like make someone get all starry-eyed and nostalgic, if they're someone who was born like in the early 80s, just
Right.
play them that Disney afternoon theme and it'll
Mm-hmm.
brighten everyone's day. It's so
It's
nostalgic.
It's upbeat, I'll give you that. The only thing I didn't like, I don't know if everybody's Syndicate did this, but all the opening theme songs were cut to about 45 seconds, so they would all fit into the 2-hour block.
The
Yeah.
Theme songs?
All the theme songs were cut down.
Yeah, I think I remember that because I remember watching Chip and Dale and DuckTales, in their initial run before the Disney Afternoon, and I remember the theme song being just a little on both of them being a little bit longer. But you're right, I think they did snip it down a bit. But I think that was probably to make space, like you said, at the end of all the shows for the what's to come next week bumper.
Which give it like a few months, and those bumpers never corresponded to the right episodes. You'd see, like I know I mentioned this when we did Twitching Channels, Bill. I saw the preview for that episode weeks before it actually aired.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Inside Binky's Brain. That's how messed up it was. But I've looked for a complete tape or a complete copy of an entire 2-hour block of that programming. It doesn't seem to exist. No one ever just taped 2 hours of Disney Afternoon.
No.
I would love.
Weird. That's interesting.
I have found bits and pieces of it, but I've never found like someone recorded at 3 o'clock and ended at 5. Never found that.
I have some tapes from Disney Afternoon, but I guess it's the same thing. I don't have any that are it all the way through.
Yeah, all my copies of Darkwing and Goof Troop I've taped. That was all from Disney Afternoon. So all the bumpers and stuff are there, but not like the entire thing. Yeah, I wish I did tape them.
Right. And in years to follow, going back to the opening sequence, they actually changed it slightly by adding, new clips of, other cartoon characters from shows like Goof Troop and Bonkers, and even. Yeah, I was going to say even in a small part where Launchpad's flipping over the letters of afternoon, you can spot Gosalyn in there. And then that was another character that I had no idea who she was until a full year later.
But, history repeated itself because 2 years later when they added Bonkers to it, that was before Bonkers had even premiered, a year before. So, I mean, if you were watching CBS, you would have seen Bonkers on Rotunage. But if you weren't, just like Darkwing, you have no idea who this is. So let's get in to the big show. Bill, how much do you love Talespin?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I love it so much.
That's funny.
Wait, so do you love Talespin more than Darkwing?
Yes, I will admit that. As much as I really, really love Darkwing Duck, Talespin is by far my favorite, without a doubt.
I'll say something sacrilegious. I think it's very possible that Talespin might actually hold up better than even Darkwing all these years later.
What?
Because as great, you know what? Darkwing's fantastic. I love it, but there's a handful of episodes that don't hold up that well. I think for the most part, like, I can't think of a bad Talespin episode.
No, they're few and far between. I mean, even if there were any. I can't even recollect any bad ones. I enjoyed them all.
I mean, your mileage may vary depending on how much you like Molly.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me personally, I mean, maybe I haven't really rewatched it that recently, but I don't think it has that great of female characters from my perspective. Like, I don't really hate Rebecca or anything. I don't really like Molly at all. And
I think that sentiment might have been shared by the people making the show. I think because you get a lot of Molly up front, But the last time I marathoned it, I realized she kind of disappears about halfway through.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. And the thing is with Molly, uh, regarding Molly, I feel like she was a a similar character to the original Webby
Yeah,
in the
totally.
87 DuckTales. Yeah. And it just kind of seemed silly at times. I mean, if you're going to give a character some personality, don't just give it the same old cliche.
I
Try
mean,
to
yeah,
make it unique.
from a female perspective, especially for me who was a tomboy as a little girl, it it definitely bothered me watching shows like that where it was the typical like, oh, you're a girl thing in every cartoon. And that definitely fell under that category.
That's why Gosling was so revolutionary.
Exactly. That's why it meant a lot to me too.
I'd agree. And with Rebecca, I will say I will kind of give her a lot of accolade because I've never seen any adult female up until that point really being assertive. I mean, she was dragging Baloo by the ear, by the throat. I
She's
mean,
also very clearly an adult.
yes,
Like,
yes,
even the DuckTales characters, the ones that are adults, still act like children.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Rebecca is very much an adult.
And she was pretty much, well, I think her and Baloo, that whole relationship was basically taken from Cheers for sure.
Exactly. That's
Sam and
Sam and
Diane.
definitely the
Diane,
vibe.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing really wrong with her except for it still is kind of like the killjoy like character. Like, it's
I think
no one thinks that she's fun or,
she's funny
cool.
when they play her for laughs.
Mhm.
I forget I think it's the Baloo Switcheroo one when Baloo and Kit come in and they have different voices, but they're trying to make her think she's crazy. And then she walks out and she goes, "My head hurts. I have a headache."
And then the same type of thing with what's the episode where the aliens War of the Weirds.
Yeah.
She, clearly is aware of how Baloo's sneaking off out of work and Wildcat trying to do this put on of a scientist, and he's like, "What are you?" Or she's like, "What are you doing in this getup?" She's so just, you know,
She's great when she's great when she sees through the plots.
Yeah,
She was like, "Wildcat, what are you doing?"
yeah. And actually, I guess that is kind of one of the first times you really see her let loose at the end of that show. But I could see why Tiff would say what she's saying about her kind of having that killjoy effect.
There are
Yeah.
times when Baloo just wants to do something and you're totally behind what he wants to do. And you're like, there's no harm in what he wants to do. And she just sticks a fork in it. And it's just not, and that's when she's not fun.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are times when he wants to do something legitimately stupid and she calls him out on it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah.
So I have a Talespin question. So in the show, it's pretty much just Baloo, Khan, and Louie, right? That are from
Yes.
Jungle Book. So which Jungle Book character did you fantasize or always hope would be on the show besides those?
The only one I think that really would have worked, and he's kind of in it anyway, is Bagheera.
Yeah.
Khan's pilots are pretty much Bagheera.
Right.
That's
It's
really...
not. Yeah, I was gonna say. Go ahead, Mike.
Or Ka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ka would be my choice. I feel like Ka had a personality, but the thing is, I guess, what do you do with a snake? I think the only time you really see a character like that would be
Clang.
Thaddeus Clang from the
Yeah.
two-part. Yeah.
I pulled that name out of, I don't know where that name came out of. I know the episode, but I did not. I'm like, Clang. It's got to be Clang.
Good job. Great job. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I'm a savant with this stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, I guess
But wasn't it revealed that he was just a snake the whole time, and it was just he was wearing just extra stuff and it was just a snake? Or am I
Yeah.
misremembering?
Well, no, yeah, it was shown that he was a snake, but I mean, clearly he was capable of talking, but only with that, I guess, jaw, that robotic jaw that he had.
I mean, if it was Ka, that would have had Jim doing the Sterling Holloway voice, so it definitely wasn't.
Right. I'm gonna give a nod to our buddy Stan when I say Talespin is awesome in general, and Tim Curry is the voice of Clang, and I know that Stan loves Tim Curry, and I could see why.
Who doesn't?
But I gotta say, I would like the show, but what really brings the show to a completely higher level for me is really just one character. Come on, guys, guess who that character is?
Is it who I think you're gonna say?
Say it.
Kick Cloud Kicker, baby.
No.
Don Carnage.
Oh,
For you it is.
dang it.
For
Okay.
me, it's Don Carnage.
Yeah, he's my favorite for sure.
But there's no denying that Kid is, up until Gosling, Kit was one of the most realistic Kid characters they had done. I'm not even going to argue that.
Kit
Right.
and his silver croissant.
Croissant. I was going to say that before. It's his flying croissant.
I would always call it the half moon, but yeah, the airfoil, yeah.
Airfoil. No, the only time Kit ever rubbed me the wrong way was when he was flying on the airfoil and R.J. Williams was just going, Yahoo! And I'm like, oh, you gotta sell that more, man. Get into it. Only time I'm like, ah.
See, I actually thought his, like, those Yahoo exclamations that he would make were actually better than, and I give him a lot of respect for what he did in the role, but Alan Roberts, who also portrayed Kit, his Yahoos were kind of
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, the exclamations he would give weren't quite up to R.J. Williams his shot, but no, they both were great in the role, but yeah, I kind of lean a little more toward RJ.
But yeah, Don
I
Carnage,
definitely
man.
would say though that Kit Cloud Kicker is probably one of the coolest names of all fictional history.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Anyway, Don Carnage. I'm sorry. Let's go back to Carnage.
I feel like this is the role where Jim Cummings just comes into his own. Because
yes,
he's having so much damn fun voicing this guy.
Being Ricky Ricardo.
Basically. Well, like my favorite episodes all have him in it.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I love him.
And he's surrounded by funny characters too. Like he's surrounded by idiots the way Fat Cat was, but these guys I still love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they had great voices for them. I know Chuck McCann was brought back, Dump Truck, and they brought in Charlie Adler for Mad Dog, and that was right around the time where he started. I think that might have been right before he started getting popular for voicing Buster Bunny.
Yeah.
Wait, who did Colonel Spigot?
Michael Goff.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then we had Lorenzo Music again as Sergeant Dunder.
Oh yeah, Garfield again.
Garfield again.
So I'll continue.
Oh, I was gonna say, and Tony J as Shere Khan. You can't forget Tony J.
The great Tony J. Yeah, and Jim also, man, he really knew how to give Louis. He brought Louis Prima's voice out for Louis.
It's a shame Prima's estate won't let him do that anymore.
Aww.
I know.
I mean, I know they kept teasing Louis on House of Mouse, but since they couldn't actually use a Louis Prima impression, it was Louis's brother. That's how sad that situation got. And he wasn't in the Jungle Book too, as far as I know.
No, I don't think.
Man, Cummings did him justice.
So,
for sure.
What's your favorite episode, Bill? Or favorite episodes?
Well, I could talk like Carnage when I say this. Where to begin? So many good ones. I mean, obviously, Plunder and Lightning didn't win the Emmy for nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so good.
Yeah, that was one of the best. A lot of stuff with Kit because I'm a Kit fan. Stormy Weather, even though that was a um, Alan Roberts episode, that was one of the best because you saw the relationship, that father-son relationship with Baloo and Kit, and he was really straying away from Baloo because he wanted to follow his dream, but then he realizes you kind of have to listen to family. I know there's a lot of those cheesy morals in some of these shows, not just Tailspin, but all of the Disney afternoon shows. But
There's really only one Tailspin episode that really gets moralistic, and I had a hard time with it whenever it re-aired. It's the whale episode.
Yeah.
That's the only one I was like, oh, this one again.
It was Free Willy.
Before Free Willy.
Yeah, right. But yeah.
Inspired Free Willy.
Yeah, there were so many good ones, and I do also have to point out another one, Tiff, which is one that I enjoy watching around Halloween, I guess, because it has this mad scientist vibe. The Incredible Shrinking Molly. That's probably one of the only tolerable Molly episodes I love.
Well, we have Dan Castellaneta in it.
Yes,
being Dan Castellaneta the whole time.
And that is the voice of Megavolt right there.
Yeah.
That
one makes it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many other ones I can get into, but usually mostly, the Cloud Kicker episodes. There is one other one that isn't Cloud Kicker-esque, and I think Stan and I both enjoy this one, The Old Man and the Sea Duck.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one's very kind of mystical.
What was that again?
The Old Man and the Sea Duck, where Baloo hits his head, has amnesia, can't remember how to fly, ends up bumping into this mysterious old pilot voiced by Hal Smith. There's Hal Smith again. And he tries to get him out of his rut to fly out of a canyon, the only way to fly. And then at the end of the episode, they finally get a doctor. Kit comes and Wildcat comes. They get a doctor. Doctor's played, interestingly enough, by Alan Young, who's Scrooge. Hal Smith did Glomgold. But yeah, he says that the character, the old pilot, died years ago. So it was just a fun, sweet episode.
They adapted that into a comic book issue.
Wow.
So in that same way, I guess one of the ones that I always liked was the one where Rebecca she falls in love with that ghost.
Her chance to dream.
Yeah, her chance to dream. And that one was really good. And continue.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the other one that I really like that stands out to me is My Fair Baloo.
Yes. Yes. With the spruce goose.
Yeah, exactly. Because spruce moose.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's it.
Because I'm a big Howard Hughes fan, so I like that one.
One of my favorites. I don't even know why it's one of my favorites, but I go back to it a lot, is The Time Bandit. I know it just takes a DuckTales plot, but I do love how they're just torturing Rebecca by doing This Was Your Life in front of a firing squad. I think it's funny. But my all-time favorite, I love Bullethead Baloo. The production values on that one are insane. It's really good.
Yeah, that one is really good. Wasn't that one of the animation studios that did a lot of Wing?
Japan.
Yeah, Japan. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was Molly's superhero Danger Woman?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they were all. It just had a barrage of fantastic characters, and I'll forever remember them. Love the whole series.
My favorite super minor character is one of the pirates. It's Gibber, who doesn't talk but just whispers things to Don Carnage.
Oh, yeah.
and it's up to you to figure out what it was he said.
What is you guys' favorite Carnage line?
Oh, I got one. Okay, two. And mainly because they were used in the coming up next tomorrow previews, so they're burned into my head. One of them is, do not fire at Will. He is my second mate. And the other one is, what the lousy place for a wall.
Oh, that's mine. I was just gonna say that one too.
Oh, he's just so. I mean, there's a lot of them, but those are burned into my head.
Yeah.
I don't
What
know.
about you,
I don't
Tiff?
even think I could pinpoint one. That's pretty
Oh.
difficult for me.
Yeah, just go on YouTube, type in Carnage, Don Carnage greatest lines, and yeah, I'll spend hours watching that.
And we're super lucky. You can get all of Talespin on DVD.
Mhm.
Like how
The
many
whole
shows?
thing is on DVD?
All of it.
Nice.
Even Flying Dupes and Lost Horizons, the ones that were not on Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
Mhm.
So
So there's 2 missing on Disney Plus, but they're on the DVD.
yeah, Lost Horizons has the Chinese pandas who attack Cape Suzette. I almost said Saint Canard. And the Flying Dupes involves delivering a bomb to the what's his face? What was the name of the guy from Thembria?
Yeah,
The
Thembria,
Grand Marshal. The Grand
the
Marshal.
High Marshal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
and Colonel Spigot. Hmm.
So does that mean for Ducktales, there was an episode like that too, right? With pandas? Or no?
On DuckTales,
Or
no.
like wasn't it? Oh, was that?
Tra-la-la
Yeah,
was the DuckTales.
Tra-la-la.
But that episode was edited because Scrooge kept taking medicine.
Okay.
And it was, and the medicine was flammable, and he lit the medicine on fire, and that was always edited out on television. So have we done enough Tailspin justice, Bill? Can we move on?
I mean, we could always stay on Tailspin, but I don't want to hold up too many people on this subject. But hey, if anybody wants to talk about it, I'm here to listen and share some memories.
So then there was this duck. I don't know. The show's okay. There are some, I guess, okay villains. I don't know. It's all right, right?
I mean, it was good enough to spawn a podcast.
People listen to podcasts? Who'd be crazy enough to make a podcast about Darkwing Duck? Not me.
When there's trouble, you call DW.
Yeah, well, Darkwing, tune into any other episode of this podcast to hear me and Will Santana talk about Darkwing Duck. I don't really think we have to go into him very much. If you guys want to tell our listeners your favorite episodes, though.
Other than favorite episode, I want to say this about Darkwing Duck this is the start of the short-lived tradition of having hip-hop songs to promote new
Lord.
Disney afternoon shows.
This is the only one that was good, though.
I agree. 100%.
Because they played this thing every commercial break that entire summer. Like, it burned into your head. You had to watch Darkwing Duck whether you wanted to or not.
And it was at the end of every VHS tape of Darkwing. Yeah.
And when they did that, I think it was Wonderful World of Disney. It was the thing they were hyping up, like the music video at the end of Darkwing Duck.
I feel like Darkwing is definitely the high point of Disney Afternoon, and that's only the second year. I don't think the programming block gets as good as those first 2 years ever again.
Yeah, I'd agree. I feel like that was, and I do remember it then at that time. I feel like that was probably the apex of the block itself. That being said, I mean, there was still a lot more good stuff to come, but yeah, that was probably the big thing because there was so much that spawned from that. I mean, the comic books, Disney Adventures was putting, crossover comics out. They were on Disney on Ice. I remember seeing Disney on Ice the year that Darkwing came out.
I saw it too.
Oh, it was so good. It was neat at the end. Because I always envisioned all of the characters from Disney Afternoon, at least up until maybe Goof Troop, all being integrated into each other. In my mind, I mean, I'm not going to go against the man himself, Tad Stones, but I always pictured all of those characters, being involved in the same world together. And at the end of the Ice show, Yeah, Darkwing was out there, Baloo was out there, Chip and Dale. It was kind of cool to see all the characters together.
I just wish that Disney had made more costumes for other Darkwing characters and didn't just pull the Launchpad costume from Ducktales and then that was it. Because I remember very vividly that Disney on Ice show had to come up with a new villain because they just did not make any villain costumes for Darkwing Duck, and there was never Goslin.
No.
Whereas Talespin, they made Kit, Baloo, Rebecca, Don Carnage, Louie, like half the characters.
That's weird.
Right.
But for Darkwing, it's like, well, here's the duck, and that's about it.
So did you happen to get that Darkwing Duck Disney on Ice merch that they sold?
No, I didn't.
Well, interestingly enough, I just recently acquired, and this is back when I first, came to talk to you guys all through the Zoom chat. I think it was Stan that might have gave me the earwig to go and buy. It's a cup, I guess a mug where it has Darkwing, Baloo and Louie, and Chip and Dale on the handle climbing up like a tree stump. So yeah, I have that merch from Disney on Ice.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. And before we leave like the initial block, we should also note that, Disney Afternoon was so big that they actually created spaces in the Disney parks for them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Disney Afternoon.
A whole show.
That didn't last long, though. That was gone before Darkwing even came along.
It didn't, and it was so sad, but I was fortunate. I was actually lucky because it did last until 1995, because that was the first time I'd gone to Disney. And at that time, and for years, apparently for like 4 or 5 years, there was a show that had the characters from at least the current running programs from the Disney Afternoon, and I got to see Bonkers. Bonkers was in that particular show.
I saw it the year that Goofy and Max were the newest shows.
Okay.
So you guys are both Disney World, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
East Coast.
So I just mentioned Goofy and Max. You just mentioned Bonkers. Let's move on from Darkwing. Again, you guys want to hear about Darkwing? We got like 60 some odd episodes already in the can you can listen to. But Goof Troop. Let's just run through these shows. We don't have to spend as much time talking about the rest of the Disney Afternoon shows. The ones we already discussed, those are really the highlights. But Goof Troop is okay. I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. The only thing that I remember disliking about Goof Troop was it bumping off DuckTales from the lineup.
That's true.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
I do think there was a very real feeling that year that the quality of the whole block wasn't what it was. I remember a lot of people were totally into Darkwing when it was new, but a lot of people were like, when Goof Troop started. Like you kind of felt it. Like it wasn't going to be as big anymore,
Well, another thing that I thought was slightly different about Goof Troop was, I mean, in hindsight, it doesn't seem as bad as it was then, but the other shows seemed kind of like timeless Disney stuff, and then Goof Troop seemed super obviously 90s.
I think a lot of the theme song and the marketing made it seem more 90s than the actual show was.
Yeah, totally. Like in hindsight, it's not as bad as I remember it being then.
Like the show really wanted to push Max and PJ as these cool dudes, but when you watch the show, you realize they're just a couple of losers.
Yeah. So, who's your favorite Goof Troop character?
Pete.
I've always loved Max, but I mean, I'll agree. I mean, Pete makes that show.
The best episodes are Pete's Evil Scheme episodes.
I would say Peg is my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, Peg was great. That whole family. It was really Pete's family, and I'm gonna kind of steal a little bit from, not steal, but take a side note from Nostalgia Critic, because he did an episode on this. It was basically that family, Pete's family, was the pivoting point. They were the ones that made everything, like they were the ones that made the whole show move.
Anytime they weren't in it or it was very goofy heavy, this show really fell flat on its face.
Yeah.
Like, I think the worst thing the show would do would be when Goofy pulled out the family album. Those are the episodes where I was like, oh my God, they're really gonna do this.
Uh-huh.
Except for the Western one where they actually got to use guns throughout the whole thing. And the kids that was a good one. When Goofy had the bad eyesight and Pete was the outlaw. That was a good one.
Yeah, and there
But
was also one where I think Pete and Peg were kind of like they were like gangsters, like Bonnie and Clyde type of characters.
something like that, yeah. But the best episodes are usually ones where Pete has a scheme, whether it's a racehorse or stealing Goofy's home remodeling, and he always got it what was coming to him. Those are the best episodes.
Do you guys have favorite episodes?
Yeah. I think I like what is it called? Halloweenies. Right? Is that what it's called? The
Yeah.
Halloween episode.
I'm trying to think of, like, it's hard because a lot of these titles have goof in it, which doesn't make it easy to remember a lot of them. I like a lot of them. A lot of the ones animated in Australia are really fantastic. Pete's Day at the Races I like, when the racehorse episode.
Mhm.
And the environmental one, A Goof of the People, where Goofy runs for mayor, just because it's really well animated.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
I think the show as a whole was animated really well.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
It always upset Tad Stones that Goof Troop got so many Australia episodes and Dark got only 9. So, moving on from Goof Troop, we do have Bonkers, which I know you guys aren't fans of.
That's not true. That's not true.
It's not that. Yeah, I'm not that bad. I'm not like Will.
Well, Bonkers is where, it really took the nosedive. When you have Animaniacs making fun of it, that's when you know.
Yeah.
Like Animaniacs' third aired episode was already making fun of Bonkers. Like, the writers knew. And we don't have to spend much time on Bonkers, but really, really troubled production history. It was supposed to be a different show, and it wasn't working, and it was taken away from the original crew and given to a different crew, the producer of Goof Troop, turned into something else, different characters, and it never worked.
Yeah. I mean, let's face facts. Probably the better episodes out of the series are the Piquel episodes for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is because of Australia coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the best Australia animation of any Disney show because they really got to cut loose and compensate for the writing.
I mean,
Right.
Were us three all fans of it at the time?
Yeah. I still
Yeah.
enjoy it for the visuals. I'll give it that. I enjoy it. I love watching it visually. I think it's a really high quality show in terms of animation.
Yeah. And there was a Darkwing Duck cameo.
Yes. There were Darkwing Duck cameos.
There was a lot of cameos in that show.
Yeah, there were. They could have even gone further with it.
Right. And I'm actually looking at the voice casts for just a mix of episodes. And I mean, they did get Wayne Allwine to come in for Mickey, but he was never shown.
Jim Cummings talking to Jim Cummings the entire time.
Oh yeah,
Totally.
that's true. But they got a lot of other voice actors as well.
Frank Welker.
Yeah, Michael Bell came back for the initial, the pilot, if you want to call it that.
I'm going to say, anybody wants to just check out Bonkers out of curiosity, just do the pilot. Right. Episode titles: Going Bonkers, Gone Bonkers. I think it's the most sympathetic that character is, and the villain is really good.
Or you could watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
You could, or you could just do that.
That's perfect.
You could just do that. So you know what? Let's start making our way toward the end. The last few Disney shows: Gargoyles, Aladdin, Schnookums and Meat, Timon and Pumbaa, Mighty Ducks, Quack Pack. Do you guys have anything to say about any of these shows? I know by this point, I think a lot of us were growing out of this stuff.
I'll let Tiff go first.
Wait, who, me?
Yeah, go ahead, Tiff.
I loved Gargoyles, and that's kind of the only one in this era now that I actually loved. I really liked it. I loved Batman the Animated Series, and I think it was kind of, doing that whole thing. I remember specifically my VHS for Nightmare Before Christmas had a preview for Gargoyles the movie, and I was super excited about it. So other
I
than
have to
that,
rewatch Gargoyles. I haven't seen it since it aired on Disney Afternoon. That's how long it's been since I've actually watched it.
yeah, I mean, I think that one's really good, but I wasn't really into Schnookums and Meat.
Dude, nobody
I
was.
I really, really wanted to like Quack Pack, but I did not.
Quack
Um,
Pack depresses me because going back, I know it was the last one. Like,
yeah,
I know, like, when Quack Pack aired, I was a senior in high school, but I was still watching the Disney Afternoon.
me too.
I didn't care. I didn't care. But going back, I look at it and I'm like, this was the end. And there's just an air of depression that hangs over that show. Like, everyone working on it knows they're almost done with this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then Mighty Ducks is so insane and ridiculous
I
that
didn't get
it's
that.
almost amusing how crazy and bad it is. But I am not a fan. Timon and Pumbaa, whatever.
Timon and Pumbaa was fun when, again, it was animated in Australia. Those episodes just visually were fantastic. There's a bunch of good Timon and Pumbaa episodes, as long as you stay away from the ones that were done for the Disney Channel a few years later. Those are god awful. Like, those aren't even watchable. That's how bad
Yeah.
they are. They were outsourced completely, and they're so painful to watch. But if you watch the first couple of seasons, they're okay. They're okay. It isn't Lion King. I mean, it's definitely doing its own thing, and it's not Nathan Lane, but it's all right. I recommend certain cartoons, not a lot of it. It
Definitely
tended to
not
be
the
a very
worst.
yeah, it tended to be a very ugly show too. Like, secondary characters, like, really ugly. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's all right. It's not something I go out and say definitely watch though.
Oh yeah, and I guess we kind of skipped it, but Aladdin, I thought Aladdin was okay too.
Aladdin, really, really, that movie is a tough act to follow. It really,
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I don't want to knock it too much. It was one of Tad's shows, and it has its moments. But I think you can't take something like the original Aladdin, turn it into like such a long series, and just expect it to just work, you know?
I'm gonna chime in and say that I actually really enjoyed Aladdin. I mean, obviously, what you're saying, Mike, is pretty accurate in the fact that yeah, it's hard to follow up on, the original movie.
I enjoyed it too. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Obviously, they didn't have Robin Williams. Dan had some big shoes to fill, but he really did it well.
My
Um,
problem with Genie is not the vocal work, it's the writing.
yes,
Once they came up with semi-phenomenal, nearly cosmic, that was their in to make Genie as stupid as they wanted to explain why he couldn't use his magic to save them.
right,
Like,
right.
usually when he couldn't help them, it's because he was stupid. And that wasn't Williams's Genie.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what or the villain had a genie-proof container. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
know, I know. There was one episode in it that I really loved, and it was the episode where there was a character named Mechanicles, and he was
Charlie
played by
Adler.
Charlie Adler, and he came across. I think he teamed up with Abyss Mall, who was played by
I
Jason
love
Alexander.
Abismal because
Yes,
of Jason Alexander.
yeah, yeah, all of that was just perfect. And I think the two of them teamed up and found Abyss Mall found these rocks that I guess they were colored. They were different colors, and each
They
color
affect your
represented.
mood.
Yes, exactly. Mood stones. So they attach these mood stones to these mechanical scarabs that would fly onto people's, backs or into their fur and all the characters, and they would change their moods. And it was kind of fun seeing, like, the genie depressed or, Abu laughing hysterically and Yago in love with Jasmine. I mean, it was just fun. And then one other character in that show that was awesome, which was Sadira. She had like
Okay.
3 episodes. It was
I
great.
thought you were gonna say Mose and Wrath. I was gonna say, oh
No,
God, I hated Mose and Wrath.
yeah, I hated him. Hated
You
him.
know
But
what's funny? Yes, Sadira
yeah,
had an arc. Like, I'll give her
yes,
that. But as far as the reoccurring villains, I couldn't stand most of them. And it's funny, the one I loved the most was just the fat idiot.
yeah,
It's because Jason Alexander is so funny.
yeah.
What is with Aladdin? Do I foil his plans? Like, I feel like my favorite of the main cast has got to be Iago because he's the only one who's allowed to be an ass.
Yes, yes.
Everybody else is just holier than thou the entire time. Aladdin's a goody two shoes. Jasmine's a goody two shoes. All of them are all so nice, but Iago can do the worst, most despicable things,
Yep.
and it works. Like, he makes the show work.
Yeah,
My opinion, at least.
I agree. I
And
agree.
anybody want to throw out some ideas about why the show isn't on Disney Plus? I have one theory.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Only one. Out of all the big shows, it's the only one that's not there.
I mean, I don't
They
know.
have Little Mermaid.
Yes. My theory is negative cultural depictions of Arab characters.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The theatrical film comes with a disclaimer about the cultural insensitivity. And the two direct-to-video films, those are big money makers. They have to be there. But the TV show doesn't necessarily have to be there. And I feel like that's what's keeping it off of Disney Plus. I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That's weird, though, that they wouldn't just put the disclaimer.
I don't know. I hope it
Yeah.
shows up because I'd love to revisit it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it would be nice to just see it, but you're right. I mean, they've done that. They've done disclaimers for other shows and movies before regarding topics, not relating to that, but
Yeah,
So-
I think there's worse things. Like they have that they kept what is it? Make Mine Music with Pecos Bill smoking a cigarette the entire time, even though there's a version with it digitally edited out.
right.
Meanwhile, Melody Time isn't there, and I think it's because they have the Martins and McCoys section that they don't want to put in there because they don't want inbred hillbillies in their films.
Oh,
So
man, I really
anyway,
want that to be on there.
it's like the one old film they're missing, but I don't know if it's not there now. You think it ever will be? So yeah, the Disney afternoon ended in 1997. I'll tell you guys, I wasn't upset when it ended because its replacement on my channel was Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and Batman, which at the
Yeah.
time I liked all that stuff more. So, when Mighty Ducks and Timon and Pumbaa and Quack Pack had to go away, I didn't
Yeah.
care. But
Yeah,
now,
and-
Definitely.
but since all that Warner stuff is on DVD, but all the Disney stuff is not, it's kind of like, oh man, maybe I was rooting for the wrong team.
Yeah. Now you kind of have a little bit of remorse and you want to go back.
Yeah, because I can watch every episode of everything Tom Ruger ever did for Warner Brothers on DVD. But can I watch all of Darkwing Duck on DVD? No.
Sadly.
And the rate things are going, we probably never will.
I'm still hoping.
Yeah, but the further and further it gets, and what
Are you
COVID is.
guys,
Sorry, Tiffany, go ahead.
Are you guys Freakazoid fans?
Yes, I do like Freakazoid.
I love Freakazoid.
Me too.
But because of what COVID has done to just the industry and has made streaming so much more important now, I think it's only accelerated the death of physical media. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't know if it's because I watch so much TV and movies, but I mean, I have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, actual cable, and all of the things, and I constantly am searching for a movie, and I'm like, okay, it's not on any of these platforms at all for some reason. Good thing I have the DVD.
yeah. So I guess that brings us down to the end of this. Man, we talked a lot about Disney afternoon stuff.
I could talk so much.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have more chances to do that down the line. But for now, we have to wrap it up, and we brought you the Disney afternoon. bringing you the Disney after, all that fun stuff. So I want to thank both of you for being my guests for these 2 episodes. It's been a blast. Do you guys have anything you want to plug before we go?
Tiff?
Yeah, I got my Instagram is Tiffany Silver Braun and Regurgitating Gertie. And
tell you I love that name.
Thank you. And my YouTube channel is Radioactivity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is DJSKYES, and that's the same as my YouTube channel as well. Don't have any major content on right now, but I've been working in a project that is actually, by this recording, by the time this will be aired, the Back to the Future Project 85, which is what I participated in, will have been released, and pretty sure you can see it on YouTube. Just search for it. And the only thing is, we ask if you watch it, maybe go on to there'll be a link for the Fox Foundation, Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's Disease Research Foundation, and make a donation just to kind of, show a little bit of love. But yeah, it's shaping up to be a good week this holiday season, and yeah, I'm enjoying it, everything.
Right, and we are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. You can find us on all major podcast apps: Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Pandora, Radio Public, Pocket Cast. We're everywhere. You can join our Facebook groups, our podcast page, and our group page for people to post whatever they like. We also have our Saturday night Zoom chats, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can meet many of us on that. And I guess that brings us down to the end of this one. I loved having you guys on, and maybe we can do it again sometime.
It was definitely an honor. Yep, had fun.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
If you need me, I'll be doing the Boogie Beagle Blues. Good night. Stay dangerous.